The morning sun was just beginning to rise above the crowded rooftops of Cebu City, painting the rusted tin sheets in soft gold. The smell of fried garlic, diesel smoke, and damp earth mixed in the air, a scent both ordinary and unforgettable to those who lived here. Along the narrow streets, tricycles coughed and rattled their way through puddles left by the night rain. Vendors shouted their morning calls, pandesal, fresh pandesal, isda, fish for sale. Life, no matter how hard, had already begun. Among the hum of the morning crowd walked Miguel de la Cruz, a thin 16-year-old boy with skin browned by the sun and eyes that carried stories beyond his age. His faded white shirt clung to his small frame, and his slippers, mismatched and cracked, slapped softly against the pavement. Slung over his shoulder was a tiny black backpack, the one thing he always carried with him. Inside it were a water bottle, a folded shirt, and a wrinkled notebook filled with song lyrics. Miguel lived in the slum area near the riverbanks, a maze of small wooden homes built so close together that you could hear your neighbor's heartbeat. His mother, Aling Teresa, sold vegetables at the market, while his father had left years ago, gone to Manila in search of work and never returned. Miguel had learned early that life was not fair, but music somehow made it bearable. That morning, as he walked past the rows of makeshift houses, he could already hear the faint crackle of a karaoke machine playing from somewhere inside the alleys. He smiled faintly. It was Saturday, people always sang on weekends. When he reached their small home, 2 rooms built from plywood and sheet metal, his mother was already up, tying her hair with a rubber band. The electric fan buzzed in the corner, barely pushing the air. "Miguel," she said softly, not turning from the mirror. "You're leaving early again." Miguel nodded, placing his backpack on the small table. "Yes, Ma. I'm going to the plaza. They said the talent show from the barangay will be there today. Maybe I can join." His mother turned to him, worry etched in her eyes. "You don't even have proper shoes, Anik. What will people think?" He smiled, a brave little smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "They'll listen to my voice, not my shoes." Teresa sighed, then walked to him and gently fixed his collar. "You're just like your father," she murmured. "Always dreaming." He didn't answer. Dreams, to him, were not luxuries, they were survival. By 10 in the morning, Miguel was standing near the plaza. It was noisy, filled with kids, balloons, stalls selling fishballs and kwek-kwek, and a small stage at the center with a cracked red carpet. A banner hung above it. Cebu Barangay Talent Search, Audition Day. Dozens of contestants lined up. Some had guitars, others wore costumes. Miguel stood quietly at the end, clutching his crumpled registration form. When the lady at the table saw his name, she looked at him curiously. "Do you have a backing track?" "No, ma'am," he said politely. "I'll sing a cappella." She raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Okay. You're number 27. He waited under the shade of a mango tree, watching others perform. Some sang upbeat songs, others danced. The crowd cheered politely, but nothing special happened. Miguel felt his palms sweating. He had sung in karaoke contests before, but today was different. Today he wanted to be heard. When his turn finally came, he walked slowly to the stage. The microphone squealed a bit. The MC, a jolly man in his 40s, looked down at his name card. "Next up, number 27, Miguel de la Cruz, from Riverside Community." "What will you sing, Miguel?" "You Raise Me Up, Sir." The crowd murmured. That was a big song. One that even professional singers sometimes avoided. The MC gave him a look of encouragement but also mild doubt. Miguel closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began. The first line came out soft, fragile, almost trembling. But with every note, his voice grew stronger, purer, like a bell ringing through the chaos of the marketplace. People stopped talking. Vendors turned off their speakers. Even the tricycle drivers paused to listen. When he reached the chorus, the air seemed to hold its breath. "You raise me up, so I can stand on mountains." The sound carried beyond the plaza, echoing through the streets. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest, raw, and heartbreakingly beautiful. When he finished, there was silence for a moment, and then applause. Not polite applause, but real, loud, cheering, teary applause. The MC looked stunned. "Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for this boy. That was, wow." Miguel smiled shyly, bowing slightly before stepping off the stage. He didn't win first place that day, he got second. The prize was 1,000 pesos and a small certificate. But that was enough to buy new slippers for his mother and pay for a week's worth of rice. That night, he sat outside their home under the dim streetlight, holding the certificate in his hands. His mother sat beside him, humming softly. "You made them listen, Anik," she said, her voice full of pride. "Your voice, it's your gift. Don't ever stop using it." Miguel looked up at the stars, tiny holes of light in the black sky, and whispered, "Someday, Ma, the whole world will hear me." She smiled, thinking it was just a child's dream. But fate had already started moving. 2 months later. The barangay video of Miguel's performance was uploaded on Facebook by someone from the audience. At first, it got a few likes. Then a few shares. Then, suddenly, it exploded. Comments flooded in. Greater than, "This boy's voice gave me goosebumps. Who is he? From Cebu. My heart broke and healed at the same time. Send this kid to Britain's Got Talent." Miguel didn't even know about it at first. His mother showed him the video one morning, shaking with excitement. "Miguel, look, you're on Facebook, thousands of people watching." He stared at the screen, his voice echoing from the tiny phone speaker. It didn't feel real. A week later, an email arrived. It was from Britain's Got Talent producers. They had seen the viral video. They wanted him to audition, in London. For a long moment, Miguel and his mother just stared at the screen. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the electric fan. "Ma," he whispered. "Is this real?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "It's real, Anik. Oh my God, it's real." They hugged each other tightly, crying and laughing at the same time. But then reality struck. They didn't have passports. They didn't have money. They didn't even have proper clothes. For days, Teresa went door to door asking for help. The barangay captain started a fundraiser. A local radio station interviewed Miguel. A small airline company offered discounted tickets. Bit by bit, the city came together for the boy with the golden voice. By the time his flight ticket was ready, the entire community knew about him. Kids waved when he walked by. Vendors called out, "Go show them, Miguel. Make Cebu proud." The night before his flight, he sat by the river again, holding his old notebook. Inside it, on one page, were the words, "Greater than, someday, I will sing on a big stage. Not for fame, but to tell the world what hope sounds like." He smiled, closed the notebook, and whispered a prayer. Tomorrow, he would leave the streets that raised him, to step into a world that had only ever existed in his dreams. As dawn broke the next morning, the entire barangay gathered at the small airport terminal. Miguel wore a white shirt, jeans, and borrowed sneakers, too big for his feet. His mother hugged him tightly, her tears soaking his shoulder. "Whatever happens there, Anik," she said, her voice trembling, "remember who you are. Sing from your heart. Sing for us." Miguel nodded, swallowing hard. "I will, Ma. I promise." As he boarded the plane, he looked out the window, the crowded homes, the river, the people waving below. He closed his eyes. He could almost hear their voices whispering, "Go, Miguel. Make the world listen." And as the plane lifted into the sky, leaving behind the shimmering blue sea of Cebu, Miguel de la Cruz felt his heart pounding with a mix of fear, hope, and destiny. He didn't know what awaited him in London. He didn't know if he would win or fail. But he knew one thing, his voice, born from struggle, would soon be heard across oceans. The plane landed at Heathrow Airport on a gray morning. The sky hung low and heavy, draped in mist. Miguel pressed his face against the small window, eyes wide as he took in the unfamiliar sight, endless runways, giant buildings, people moving briskly in coats and scarves. He had never seen so many planes before, nor felt air so cold it bit into his skin. When he stepped out of the arrival gate, a BGT staff member was waiting with a placard that read, "Miguel de la Cruz, Britain's Got Talent Auditions." She was a cheerful woman in her 40s, named Clara. "Welcome to London, Miguel," she said warmly, offering him a small British flag. "You've traveled a long way." Miguel nodded shyly, gripping his backpack tightly. His English was decent, learned from school and watching YouTube, but his accent carried the warmth of Cebu. "Thank you, ma'am," he said softly. She smiled. "You can call me Clara. We've seen your viral video, the one that made us all cry. Everyone's excited to meet you." Miguel blushed, looking down. He wasn't used to such words. Back home, he was just that kid from the riverside. They drove through the city. Miguel pressed his forehead against the car window, marveling at the tall buildings, clean roads, and people bundled in winter clothes. Everything felt unreal, like stepping into a movie. They stopped at a small hotel near the studio. The BGT team had arranged everything: room, food, even a jacket to keep him warm. That night, Miguel lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the heater. His heart raced. Tomorrow is the audition. He imagined standing in front of Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, Alicia Dixon, and Bruno Tonioli. He'd seen them countless times on YouTube. But now, he would face them, not as a fan, but as a contestant. He turned over and whispered a prayer in the dark. Lord, help me remember why I'm singing, for Ma, for home, for hope. The next morning, the audition venue was buzzing with energy. Cameras rolled, producers hurried, and contestants warmed up in every corner, dancers stretching, magicians rehearsing, singers humming nervously. Miguel sat quietly, holding his small notebook. On the front cover, written in fading ink, were the words, "Greater than, sing like no one's listening, even when the world is." A woman with a headset approached him. "Miguel, you'll be on in 15 minutes. Are you ready?" He nodded, even though his hands trembled. A young man beside him, another contestant from Scotland, smiled. "You look nervous, mate." "First time." "Yes," Miguel admitted. "Don't worry. Just sing from your heart. That's what matters," the man said kindly. Miguel smiled back, grateful. Backstage, moments before the audition. The air was thick with tension. He could hear the muffled sounds of applause from the stage. A big digital clock counted down. Clara adjusted his microphone and whispered, "You'll do great. Just be you." He took a deep breath. His palms were sweating. Then he heard it, the booming voice of the show's host, Aunt McPartlin. "Next up, all the way from Cebu in the Philippines, please welcome Miguel de la Cruz." Cheers erupted from the audience. The stage lights dimmed. Miguel walked out slowly, squinting against the bright white lights. The massive stage stretched out before him, the judges seated in their row like titans. Simon Cowell leaned forward, curious. Amanda smiled warmly. The crowd murmured, many noticing the small, humble boy standing there with nothing but a mic. Aunt handed him the mic. "Hello there. What's your name?" "Miguel de la Cruz," he stammered. "Where are you from, Miguel?" "I'm from Cebu City, Philippines." A cheer rose from the crowd, someone even waved a small Philippine flag. Simon nodded. "That's quite a long way to come. What made you want to audition for Britain's Got Talent?" Miguel hesitated, his voice trembling. "When I was young, I used to watch your show on YouTube, sir. My mother and I would sit in front of a small phone and dream that one day, maybe, I could stand on this stage." The crowd, awed. Amanda's eyes softened. "And what will you be singing today?" Simon asked. Miguel smiled faintly. "A song that reminds me of home. It's called, You'll Never Walk Alone." Simon leaned back. "That's a big song. Good luck." The lights dimmed. The piano intro began, slow, haunting. Miguel closed his eyes. For a moment, the noise of the crowd disappeared. He saw his mother's face, the narrow streets of Cebu, the children playing barefoot in the rain. Then he sang. His voice came out soft, pure, trembling with emotion but steady in spirit. "When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high." Every word carried the weight of his journey, the hunger, the dreams, the courage it took to stand there. The hall felt completely silent. Even Simon's face changed, the faint skepticism replaced by awe. When Miguel reached the chorus, his voice soared, rich and golden. walk on, with hope in your heart." People in the audience began to cry. The camera caught Amanda holding her hand to her chest, eyes glistening. Alicia whispered, "Oh my God." Miguel opened his eyes briefly, and for a split second, he felt it. The world listening. The final line rang through the theater like a prayer. "And you'll never walk alone." He held the note, trembling, pouring his soul into it. When it ended, there was a breathless pause, one heartbeat of silence before the entire crowd erupted. People rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, screaming. Tears streamed down faces. Simon Cowell stood up slowly, his mouth slightly open. Amanda was wiping tears. Bruno and Alicia were clapping like thunder. Miguel looked around in disbelief. He had never heard applause so loud, so alive. Then, out of nowhere, Amanda Holden reached forward and slammed the golden buzzer. The moment froze. Gold confetti burst from the ceiling, raining down like magic. The crowd roared. Miguel stood there, shaking, covering his mouth in shock. He couldn't move. Tears streamed down his face. Amanda ran up to the stage and hugged him tightly. "You have the voice of an angel," she whispered. "You just reminded us all why we love this show." Simon nodded, smiling genuinely, that rare, sincere smile. "Miguel," he said into the mic, "in all the years I've sat here, I've never seen anything quite like that. You didn't just sing, you told us a story. You made the world stop." The confetti kept falling. The camera zoomed in on Miguel's tear-streaked face, his small frame trembling under the golden rain. From the side of the stage, Ant and Dec clapped, shouting over the crowd. "From Cebu to the world. That's what this show is all about." Miguel laughed through his tears, looking up at the ceiling. In that golden rain, he thought of his mother watching from their small TV in Cebu, probably crying, probably shouting his name. "Ma, we did it."